Welcome, moon lovers. This is Imber Tyler. Hello. And with me today and always, I have my illustrious co-host, Curious Cat. Hello,
Hello.
Kathy.
Hey, good morning.
Today, we're going to take 8 minutes on the clock to unlock some magic within. And since we are focused on untangling this entire moon phase, or this moon cycle, we're taking this phase of the last quarter moon and we're really thinking deeply about how we celebrate small victories. Because with this untangling topic,
You getting the timer going?
I'm getting the timer going, yeah.
Right, I love it.
With this untangling topic, um, we've talked about patience and healing through our emotional healing journey. So with that, something very important that we need to do, and that is about, and that I know you do, Kat, is about celebrating small victories. And it's a really good energy to do for the last quarter moon. So my question for you is, give us an example of small victories that you celebrate.
Well,
Like how
one
small
thing.
is too small, right? Like we say the small
Oh,
victories.
yeah.
Let's do focus on the small, right?
Okay. Yeah, I don't think that anything is too small, but personally, I think the biggest thing is that accountability of being, and being self-integral. I think that that is one of the things that is really important to celebrate because so many times, especially when you're an entrepreneur, you work for yourself, and we oftentimes are really hard on ourselves. And so, which can lead to shutdown and procrastination, other things, because it's like, well, you've already failed before you've started if you have that mindset, which of course we hope you don't. But going back to saying, creating little bite-sized pieces and then celebrating along the way, but it's that being accountable and saying, I did something great because, going back from that entrepreneur's point of view, I don't have a boss that says, gives me a quarterly review unless it's myself, which is important to do as well. But to come in and say, hey, you're doing a good job. I noticed that, you've really stayed on task, or you've really put forth the effort and allowed some, and it's not all about do. It's about, once again, that celebration of saying, every time that you do something, it's like, what I really like is, I have the easy button from Staples. Have y'all seen that?
Yes.
Pushing that is very rewarding. I didn't think that it would be like that, but really, as someone who likes to be playful, but also I'm extremely serious, just having that visual in my office and pushing it is really has been really
Well,
cool.
that's interesting you say that because so when do you push that button? Is it when like a task that maybe in the beginning started large or seemed difficult or seemed maybe some procrastination behind it because it just seemed like too much. When do you hit the easy button? When it becomes easier
No,
or when
no, everything gets the easy button. I mean, it can be like we can do it every 5 minutes because what that does is just it gives your brain that mental stimulation of saying you're doing it. Because like I said, you don't, once again, I've worked for myself for so long, and so you have to give yourself those rewards. And as someone who, like, words of affirmation are not my love language, and so I don't get a lot of from that. But so I have had to train myself to give myself the rewards of, because I used to say, well, it doesn't matter, but it does matter. It really does matter. And so, show up to my office, you get an easy button. Yeah, way to go, Kathy. It's like,
I just showed up.
I just showed up. Isn't that
I
like
brushed my
90%?
teeth and I made it. I have on clean underwear and I'm here.
I mean, there's studies about that. If just showing up is most of the battle. And it shouldn't be a battle. You know, we've made it a battle, but it really is about showing up and saying, I'm responsible for myself, for my business. And if it's to be, it's up to me. So yeah, what can I celebrate? And I personally have found for me, it's celebrating everything. So the bigger wins, the bigger, get bigger celebrations. And that's where I like to reward myself with maybe a piece of jewelry or a piece of something that's tangible that I can see that it's like, or even printing off, in the Luna's Vault Academy, like printing off our monthly topic, that being a reward because we've been through that, and we do that with our divine art alchemy. That's a reward, to see my life in the visual, instead of it being like, oh, it's done. Okay, just move past it really quickly. It's like, oh, what can I anchor in so that I want to be more present, that I want to show up more, and then invite those in my close surroundings to be part of my joy too. So they see and they experience that energy because really it's raising our vibration, right?
It is. Yeah, it is.
It is. And so the more that we can raise our vibration with whatever it might be, and going back to like, yeah, a little dance, talked about that a little earlier, but it's like,
Mhm.
I did it, it's kind of like pushing the easy button, but it's like, oh, I did that. That feels good. Okay. Giving my brain a hit of dopamine saying you're on the right track. How can we make it so that you want to come back here? But it's that reward.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's for many people, and myself being one of them, that's not always easy to do.
Right. You have to train yourself. It's like anything. It's that intentional action. It's that awareness. And it's
Yeah.
the choice. It's one of those intentional choices of saying,
Mhm.
how can we do this?
Yeah. Yeah. So I love that, you're talking about the like even the smallest victories being, very important to help propel yourself further and to drive yourself further because it really can be motivation. Where I guess if you can go a long time without any sort of reward and just, stay completely focused and going and working and being diligent all the time, I mean, you burn yourself out.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That sounds like a nightmare to me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, so would you recommend then some sort of daily celebration of
Yes.
making
Oh,
it
hell
your
yeah.
day?
Yes. And sometimes even like the celebrations are just writing in my journal, you did it,
Mm,
or, way to go. And I know it might sound silly, but, especially for somebody, like I said, like that wasn't those words. I'm like, put the action behind the words. That's what I want to see of like, but the rewards, like that's just once again reprogramming your brain because we often, from our childhood, it was that, you don't get a reward unless you've done something really good. And what I found in my coaching, especially, is, people tend to reward themselves with food, which I personally do not
time's up.
encourage.
Yes, let me finish that thought. That's really important. Yes. Yeah. Well, it's funny you said that because, I was thinking like sometimes my reward would be like one little piece of chocolate at the end of the day, but it is food. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's okay. It is okay, but just once again, if you build it where it's not food, like that could be like what I was saying, like the piece of jewelry or the divine art alchemy or something like that, like
Yeah.
being a more tangible thing. But really you want it to be something where it can be like, hey, pat yourself on the back,
Yeah.
So
Self-confidence.
exactly, yes. Yeah. Those things. Because that way you'll get them often and you get those rewards. Yeah. You get that hit of dopamine and that's what brings vibration up and yeah.
All right.
So yeah, with that, so was that your key takeaway? Did you have yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was my key takeaway. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah. What about you? Did you have one?
I think it's nice to hear myself and remind myself to say, everything gets a reward because I mean, we're put on earth. I mean, I truly believe that we're put on earth to be celebrated and to be a beautiful light. And I think that we've been handed our program of heaviness and I think definitely in 2024 people are ready for some lightness. And the more that we can show ourselves little tiny rewards and celebrations, I think is going to just it's going to transition our humanity very quickly. So if we can get that message out, how can you reward yourself that's going to feel really amazing for you? And even if it doesn't feel amazing at first, try it and try it for a week, commit to it for a whole month, entangling, right?
Untangling for an entire moon cycle. Yeah.
Exactly. So come tell us what your thoughts are. Do you celebrate yourself? Is that something that you enjoy? What ways do you do that? And you can, send us a DM, go to lunasvault.com and let's have this conversation. So so now that we're complete with the moon cycle, we'll go from here, the last quarter into the balsamic moon, take a little rest, celebrate ourselves even more.
Celebrate.
And then we'll be back on the next new moon. So until then, happy
Happy
manifesting.
manifesting.